Hi S4, how are you? It's Miss Deans here. I hope you've survived the first week of online learning. I've certainly found it a bit of a change and there are lots of things that I'm still getting used to, but if we all just keep working on it together, I'm sure we will figure everything out. Last week we started one of our major texts in fourth year, an inspector calls. You should have watched the first part already and you should have completed some questions on it. We're going to be working on an inspector calls for a while. It was something we were going to be doing anyway this year. We were going to start it in March, so we've just moved it forward a little bit. And I hope you'll be really enjoying it, but we're also going to be doing some very important work on it as well. So it's going to be important to put your best effort in. This week, for an inspector calls, you're going to watch the second part of the film. And the second part of the film, it focuses particularly on Mr. Burling. I don't want to give anything away, but the inspector arrives and he wants to question Mr. Burling about something. And that's what this part of the film really focuses on. So you'll be thinking about the inspector and you'll be thinking about Mr. Burling. But you're also going to find out a little bit about what goes on in Mr. Burling's factory. And you're going to see a little bit from that time about maybe what would happen if some of the workers weren't very happy with the conditions in the factory. And this brings me on to your second task. I've also uploaded a close reading for you to complete. Now this close reading, the passage is taken from a piece of writing and it's set around the same kind of time period as an inspector calls. It's a different story, it's different characters, it's by a different writer and it's not a play, but it's the same kind of time period. And in this particular passage, it's about two girls called Bella and Emily, and they work in a factory and they've been a bit unhappy about the way the factory is run and some issues around wages and things like that. And they've been speaking to some of the other workers about that and be seeing if everyone else is unhappy. And as a result, they've been summoned to a meeting with the boss, who is not happy about it. And we're doing that close reading this week because there's maybe some similarities in the two stories between the film of an inspector calls and between this close reading passage. Now when it comes to doing your work, for an inspector calls, people submitted their work all kinds of different ways last time. Some of you used Class Notebook, some of you hand wrote, some of you did Word documents. So Class Notebook is fine and great. If you're going to put your work in Class Notebook though, send me a little message to say that you've done it because it's a bit footery. Actually, I've kind of realised that if you're watching the film and writing things down at the same time, you might just prefer to handwrite because then you can be watching and writing at the same time. So when it comes time to submit your work, the best thing to do is to click on the assignment and then upload either a Word document with your answers or pictures of your jotter. That's absolutely fine as well. Or as I said, you can use Class Notebook, but if you're doing that, send me a little message because I don't get a notification that you've done it in Class Notebook. Seems a bit silly. You'd think they would put that in Microsoft Teams, but they don't. I have to go looking for it. So those are your tasks for this week. Your close reading has got 50 marks, so it's worth a lot. So I would leave yourself a little bit of time to do that. Try and find yourself a nice quiet place and time if you can to get that completed. You're going to do that as a form where you just type your answers in. Make sure you read the passage carefully first before you begin. I can't wait to see you all back in class soon. I hope you have a really good week. Please do get in touch if you're unsure about anything or you've got any questions. See you next week.